Hey, I'm Steve Smith. Hope you all are having a good day. You might have noticed that I didn't say welcome to Integrative Preparedness because there's some things going on that this will probably be put on a couple of other channels. One that I already have and another one that I'm just creating now because of what I perceive to be a changing in the environment that we're living in, and what I've decided to do about it. I can't film outside today. We just had a big storm, so I'll sit here and anyway. I have a couple of things to read, and it's easier for me to read them inside anyway. Uh, Yesterday's video that I put out, America is Over. I've just been amazed at the response that I've had. The comments were inspiring. You know, a lot of people come to videos to be taught or inspired and things like that, but these comments inspired me, and I want you to know that. I say semi-jokingly, but actually I believe it, we call that joking on the square, that I have the smartest commenters on YouTube. And boy, if that wasn't obvious before yesterday's video, it should be obvious to everyone now. By the way, welcome to all of the new subscribers. We've just had a load both here and on Patreon. If you want to follow me on Patreon, the link is always down there. I haven't had a chance to get over to answer or even read most of the Patreon comments on yesterday yet, but I'm going to after I do this, and I could just see by skimming through them that they were. I can't wait to read them. It's one of my greatest pleasures, not necessarily to make these videos, but to read the comments. They edify me. They help other people. You all really are a community that helps other people. So for you new people, I hope that you'll enjoy this. I know you'll get a lot out of it. If not from what I say, from what the commenters do. And I hope that you'll pass this around and spread these around to your friends, because it's going to help them as well. So many of the comments from yesterday kind of followed along with things that friends of mine and I have been discussing for some time now, and many others have too. It's certainly not anything that I came up with, but that is it possible that what's going on in the world now is God's judgment for a collapsed and sinful society? I know that not everyone here is a believer, and that's okay. You're welcome here. If anything that I say here helps you, then I'm glad of that. This is not a place to where we push people away, but a place where we welcome people to listen and hopefully get something out of it. But I do approach things from a biblical standpoint. I don't think that everything necessarily, I mean, if I can't find a parking place, I don't think that, it's evil at work against me. But I think in the big picture, it's foolish for us not to see God's hand in those things. I've seen his hand in many things in my life. And at the end of this, I'm going to share something. Yesterday was a very interesting day for me. And at the end of this, I'll share that. So if you stick around, you'll hear. Are we in? What do we do about it? If America is over, what then? What do we do? What do we do during the process of the collapse? And then what do we do to come out the other side? The answer is very easy, or simple anyway. It's a simple answer. may not be so easy to do, but it's a simple answer. I'm going to come to that in just a minute. But under the question of is this God's judgment? And I understand if people say, no, you can't say that. But I'll tell you what, if it's not, like I say, it'll do till God's judgment gets here, almost, and I'm not making light of that. But you look at the number of problems that we have and the collapse of our society, and think about what God does when a people turn away from Him, a believing people. And America was established, the United States or America was established as a Christian country. I don't care what other people say. They try to claim that it was, and I could do an hour proving that it was, but that's not what we're here for today. I'll read this quote from Jefferson, with which most of you probably are familiar. Most people are familiar with the first part, maybe not the second part. I'm going to read the whole thing. And he says, "Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that His justice cannot sleep forever, that considering numbers," and most people know it up to that point. Most people don't know the rest. "That considering numbers, nature, and natural means only, a revolution of the wheel of fortune, an exchange of situation, is among possible events, and that it may become probable by supernatural interference." Well, of course, we know what we're saying is that we know that we accept that God is just, and His justice cannot sleep forever, and He will take a stand. If you read the Bible, if you read the Old Testament, my kids ask me the difference between the Old and the New Testament when they were young, and I simplify it, and I say, the Old Testament is essentially a story of a people who God blessed, and then they turned away from God, and God punished them, and that caused them to turn back to God, and then they turned away from God, and God punished them, which turned them back to God, and it goes on and on and on. It is one lesson of that, of the importance of relying on God and following His guidance, and then what happens if you don't? What does God do when His people turn away from Him? He turns them over to evil rulers. He turns them, he allows their enemies to vanquish them. Right? How does 400 years of slavery in Egypt sound to you right about now? That's what God uses people to further His will. He uses people. And when a people who He blessed turn away from Him, it's people through whom He is going to respond. Can we do that now? And how do we do that? I think that it's pretty clear to many, if not most of us, that this is a real possibility, that this is what's going on, and perhaps a probability. Okay, and I've had a lot of people ask me about this in the past. I've kind of just said, well, could be. I've kind of kept religion off of this channel. Maybe I shouldn't have, because there is no real preparation separate from what's going on in the world. And those of us who understand that God is in control, I know those people will say, who's the prince of the world? I understand that Satan is the prince of the world. But the Bible teaches us, and it's full of those circumstances, that when we turn to God, He takes care of things, and He takes care of His people. And we look at 2 Chronicles, 7th chapter, and I'll start with the 13th and verse, and this is where when you say, what can we do? This is what we do. And he's talking to Solomon. Solomon has just completed the temple. And God looked, and if you're familiar with the story, David wanted to build the temple, but was not allowed to for certain reasons. Solomon was his son. He was allowed to to do that. And so when Solomon completed the temple, according to God's directions, God didn't say, just build me a temple. He said, and here's how I want you to do it. Okay. Solomon obeyed. He did it according to how God directed him. And so Solomon got done, and God looked at the temple. He says, yeah, that's good. I will choose that for my place of worship. Then he said, at times, I might shut up the heavens so that no rain falls. Or I might command locusts to devour your crops. Or I might send plagues among you. Now, why would he do that before we continue here? Why would he do that? Just for grins? Do you think that God just punishes people for nothing, just for his amusement? No. He does that to get their attention. He does that to get our attention. You ever notice how people turn to God during their toughest times in their lives? Well, that's why so many people find God in prison. Some people think that that's, just an out, just an excuse. It's not. Many of us find God at the lowest point in our lives. As Lincoln said, something to the effect that he said, I've been driven to my knees so often in prayer because I simply had nowhere else to go. And there's another old saying that, whatever stands between you and God or you and the will of God, get ready to lose it. Well, that's something we'll get back to in a minute. But he does this. He sends these things to get people's attention. But then he says, then, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, get rid of their pride, get rid of their worship of the superfluous, the foolishness, the silliness that I talked about in yesterday's, and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. That's important. Turn from their wicked ways. I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land. The solution is right there. The problems we have here are not problems of physicality. They're problems of the spirit, of the individual spirit, of the national spirit, of what we've allowed to happen. We've turned away as a nation, as a country. I slipped there. I've made the point that I have never considered the United States as a nation. It's a country. I won't get into that right now. But as a country founded on biblical principles, you couldn't get much farther away from them as a country, not as individuals, than we have become. And readying ourselves to be able to survive what's coming, and then to come out the other side, we don't have to figure it out. You see, God told us. And every time we think that we're smarter than God and we can figure it out and we know better, well, have you ever tried that? I have. What happens? No, it doesn't work. And he shows you in however big way he needs to, right? God will knock on your wooden head until you start paying attention. The interesting thing that happened, the thing that made my day interesting yesterday, I know, it's easy for a YouTube creator just to sit here and act like, you kind of, I don't know, separate from the reality. Maybe some people look and say, well, you can spout off all this stuff and you have a great life and everything's going well for you and what do you know and everything like that. Well, I had an interesting day yesterday. I found out that a major corporation with whom I do business has just put out an edict. I think that's good. That's almost biblical in it. A directive that all of their employees, contractors, vendors, everything like this will have to get that jab by October 30th, or else they will be separated from being able to deal with that corporation. I have had a relationship with that corporation for almost 13 years. They are a major part of, shall I say, my financial package. It's going to cost me, and I'll say right now, I am not going to take it. I've said it, not going to take the jab, don't believe, I'm not going to go any further than that. Not going to do it. Sometimes God says, do you really mean what you say? Or are you just trying to, act like you mean what you say? Well, no. This is going to cost me about $80,000 a year. Okay. Kelly also has another relationship with that. From her side, it's going to cost about $20,000 a year. So between the two of us, it's going to cost us $100,000 a year because we're not going to go along with it. Okay. There's no, I'm not whining, boo-hoo, wah, woe is me. Just not going to do it. Sometimes. Matter of fact, I just got off the phone. A good friend of mine called about some of the silliness that's going on in the world. Good man of God. And he asked me what I was going to do with that. And I told him, I says, there's an old saying that, and I forget if I already said that in this video or not, but whatever stands between you, and maybe I should preface this before. I've had some concerns in the past about this company. And I was thinking about separating from them myself because of certain stands that they take with which I disagree. But there's an old saying, and that is whatever stand between you and God or you and the will of God, get ready to lose it. And maybe God thought that I was just taking too long. Maybe he thought, hey, come on, Steve, you think you should have maybe got away from there? Trust me in this? So that very possibly could be what's happening. Yeah, here in about 2 months, I'll lose about $100,000 a year. Now, I'm not a millionaire, and that's going to be, I'll say that it's going to be noticeable. Okay. But I'll tell you something else. I've lost everything a couple of times before in my life when I think things were going pretty well. And you know what? Every time I was at peace with it. Every time I saw God's direction, and every time he brought me out of that and into something far greater. So I can't wait to see what this next iteration is going to be. Now, I'm fortunate, and because God has blessed me. All of you who say on your comments, God bless you, I thank you for that, and he certainly does. And I hope he blesses you too. But this is, so I'm looking forward to this, because I know that when you follow the will of God, his blessings are more than you could ever imagine. When we do it our way, sometimes we can get some good things done, right? When we do it God's way, it's the overflowing cup. So I just wanted, I'm going to be doing some additional things. Maybe this will give me more time to crank those books out that I seem to be slow on and everybody's asking about, for which I thank you. But anyway, for you all, you commenters and you viewers, thank you so much. Your comments, and again, here's to the new people, your comments are inspiring to the other people who read them. Please keep it up. Let this, and I can see by your comments, you people of God out there, and again, I know there's some people out there that are not believers. I won't say that that's fine, and that's for your sake. It's not me passing judgment on you. But you are welcome here as anyone. Okay. But if you use your comments here as your ministry, almost as it is, that's great. God puts that in your heart, because this is a time we're all going to need to be together. We're all going to need the strength that we get from the thoughts of others and the prayers of others. And don't worry. Don't worry, right? Let not your heart be troubled. If you rely on God and if you follow his ways, what he has in store for you is far greater than whatever you've been holding on to that was simply holding you back. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to say. That is the way. That's my answer. Yesterday was kind of a down, but it was true. America is over. Now we see what's next. What's next? Okay. And I think it could be very exciting. I know it's going to be better, quality of life wise, whatever it is. It's going to be better than what we had. And whatever we end up building, saving, whatever, on the other side of this mess that we're in right now, we trust in God, and it's going to be good. So that's what I would suggest. And thank you all again for all of your comments, for your spreading this and sharing it with your friends, and stay. I won't even say strong. Okay? You get your strength from the Lord, and stay at peace, and do everything with joy, because if you're in his will, I never realized that had kind of a double meaning. We don't mean like will and the money. I want to be in your will, Lord. No, I want to do your will. If you're in the Lord's will, there is no better place to be. So I think that'll do it. And I'll be making probably a couple of announcements over some new things I have in mind, but I'll keep those until they're ready to go. You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And remember what that greatest preparation is asking God, take over. You ever seen heard that song, Jesus Take the Wheel? That's right. Take the wheel. Because these are such times that we on our own aren't going to be able to navigate it. We shouldn't try to navigate it anyway. Every day should be looking for what he wants us to do. So you all have a great day. Thank you again so much for being here. Share it with your friends, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.